Hello, welcome to Clear Path Wellness with Joshua, the patient advocate. So in this video, we are going to discuss how to present a research proposal to a panel of supervisors. So you find that for undergraduate students or students in whatever jurisdiction, at some instance, they are usually required to present their research proposals for review by a panel of supervisors. So the skills that we are going to list are very necessary for students who are doing their research. So the key points that are stated here in this video, I'm going to elaborate on them further as we continue with our presentation. So point number one, a very important skill in the list of key points. The presentation must be in PowerPoint. So have the skill to make a PowerPoint presentation of your research proposal. The slides of your PowerPoint must be very quality. That is, they must have a white background, not any other funny color or whatever picture in the background. The slides should also not be crowded, and it should give a summary of the whole proposal at the end. Then the slides should not exceed 15. So have a maximum of 15 slides. Then the presentation should be limited to 10 minutes. That is very necessary for timekeeping. So follow the order of your research flow as you present your slides. So the research flow usually goes like this. So one, in your research, you start with title of the research. So what is the research title? This is a concise statement of the main topic, and it identifies the dependent and independent variables. For instance, relating knowledge of patients will be an independent variable. To how the knowledge of patients influence uptake of medical attention. Uptake of medical attention in this case is the dependent variable. Then two, in your research flow, that is background of research. This is very necessary. So you should show understanding of the problem, importantly understanding of the genesis of the problem. Also in your background, you need to talk about the global perspective of the research. Okay, then regional perspective, for example Eastern Africa. Then you come down to national perspective, then the local scenario perspective, meaning that the statement of problem or the background of problem at the place where you intend to do your research. Also, you need to talk about your target group, the group that you intend to use to carry out your research. Those are the respondents. Then statement of the problem. The statement of the problem must indicate what the problem is, and it must indicate why and how it is a problem. So that is very important. It must also give information to support why you are carrying out your research, and for that case you ought to use statistics or other forms of evidence. Also, the statement of the problem must show connectivity with the background information. So it must be in line with the problem that you identified or stated in your background information. So they should be concise. Then three, research objectives. One general objective is necessary, is always required, and it should be in line with the title. You just convert the title to a question to some extent. Then the specific objectives that fall under the general objective should be in line with the variables that you are studying, maybe knowledge, attitude, and practices. So have specific questions for all those three. And the research questions, they should be in line with your specific objectives and equal to the specific objectives in number. That is very important. So for every specific objective, you just convert it to a question, then there you find your research question. Then 5, justification. Your research justification should illustrate where you're conducting your research and whom it shall benefit. So why are you really doing your research, and why is it necessary? You'll need to convince the panel on that. Then literature review. Yes, this is a very key area. So in your literature review, you'll need to make reference to at least 3 main studies related to your work as you present your literature. So summarize at least 3 main studies for the summary of literature review. So you should also draw a theoretical or conceptual framework to support your literature. So in that regard, that is very, very necessary. Then for the methodology, so research methodology, that is. Under methodology, you'll need to state your research design, whereby you indicate the type of research methodology you are using and justify your choice of that methodology. Then population of study, identify the population, that is the target population, and justify your choice for that target population. Then for the sampling frame, justify your choice of the sampling frame. You want to interview maybe 100 respondents, why that? Then sampling technique, illustrate the understanding of your sampling technique as you carry out your data collection within the jurisdiction of your study. Also, you need to list instruments of data collection and describe your data collection procedure. So instrument and procedure, that is how it goes. Also, when you are carrying out your pilot tests, describe how you'll carry out your pilot tests and the instruments which you will subject to pilot tests. Also, you need to describe the data processing and analysis methods. So also state your ethical considerations during data collection and presentation. So that is what we have in the methodology. So to elaborate further, here are the 20 essential skills for research presentation. So please stay calm as we dig deeper into what we've just discussed. So to effectively present your research proposal to a panel of supervisors as an undergraduate student, you ought to really understand the following. This will be key in your presentation of research proposal. So these are the skills. So 1, communication and delivery in proposal presentation. Communication is very important. So under communication and delivery of content, 1, we have time management. Be relaxed. Okay, be able to condense complex chapters into a strict 10-minute window of presentation without rushing. Also, you can use verbal cues to guide your panel through the slide transitions. Okay, maybe you want to emphasize on a very important point, you can raise your voice in that regard to a varying pitch or even pace to emphasize on key information as you present your research. Maintain a professional posture and a steady tone to project authority on the topic. So you need to really be confident and present. Also, you need to carefully process panel questions before jumping to an answer. When you are asked a question, please digest it first. Okay, that is very necessary because it helps you answer the questions effectively. Then skill number 2, that is to do with the required technical and analytical skills in proposal presentation. So what are these technical and analytical skills that you need as you present your research? 1 is data visualization. Turn raw statistics into clear and easily understandable charts that describe your statement of problems so that the panelists can really get what you are presenting and identify the gap quite easily. Citation competency. You need to cite at least 3 studies in your literature review. Very, very relevant studies. Then methodological justification. You need to be able to explain why a specific sampling technique was chosen over others. So the choice of sampling technique is very necessary that you explain it to the panelists. Then alignment logic. Ensure that the title, the objectives, and the research questions are perfectly aligned, the flow is great, and they are synchronized, i.e. they relate to each other. Then under PowerPoint proficiency, as we just had indicated, you need a white background which is not crowded, and that is the rule of PowerPoint presentation. Then in your presentation, skill number 3, critical thinking and defense in proposal presentation. So what about critical thinking and research defense? You need to apply a concept we call anticipatory thinking, whereby you identify your potential weaknesses and be prepared for rebuttals in case they happen. Then conciseness. You need to strip away information that is not necessary, that is to keep your research a 15 slide limit. So that is very critical that you maintain your time well with a 15 slide presentation. Also, you need to explain well the relationship between your dependent and independent variables. This is very, 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 very necessary. You will be asked that. Then ethical awareness, anonymity of your study participants. Will you be able to handle that, or you can end up breaching their privacy? So you really need to explain how you'll handle the client or participant privacy. Then skill number 4, professionalism in proposal presentation. What about professionalism in proposal presentation? For instance, as you present your proposal, how do you handle questions and answer? Look at the supervisors respectfully. Okay, in case they critique you or give you a tough feedback, you should not be disrespectful. Maintain eye contact so that people can feel that you are really understanding what you are presenting. Okay, then also technological troubleshooting. It can happen that the PowerPoint fails to help you present your work, so you need to have a PDF backup, because PDFs rarely fail. What about your dress code? The dress code should adhere to professionalism. For instance, if you are a college student who wears uniform, you ought to be in your uniform preferably. That is very necessary. Maybe if you don't use uniforms, just wear an official presentable dressing. Also, you should present your research in a 30-second wrap-up period at the end of your presentation. This is usually asked. That is like the summary of summaries. Okay, so in that regard, that is the end of my presentation. I wish you good health as you continue with your research, and for any questions, drop them in the comments. My contact is also there in the comments for private consultations, and have a good day.